Breaking, Kabwe Court shocks PF. What this means for 2026 elections in Zambia. For months, PF has insisted it is ready for 2026. But today, the Kabwe High Court delivered a ruling that could change who runs, how they run, and whether PF even enters the race united. Is this the beginning of PF's legal collapse, or a strategic setback they can still recover from? In this video, we break down what the court actually ruled, what it legally means for PF, and how this decision could shape Zambia's 2026 elections. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of the InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. Well, it's been quite a week here in southern Africa, hasn't it? The political temperatures are rising, the rains are coming down, and as always, the story never stops unfolding in our beautiful continent. But today, we bring you something that has sent shockwaves through Zambian politics, a courtroom drama that could very well reshape the entire trajectory of the 2026 elections. Picture this, the hallowed halls of the Kabwe Magistrates Court, where justice is meant to be blind, impartial, sacred. The gavel falls. The ruling is read. And in that single moment, the Patriotic Front, a party that once held the highest office in the land, finds itself staring into an abyss of legal uncertainty and political turbulence. What happened in that courtroom? What precedent has been set that has opposition leaders scrambling, legal experts debating, and ordinary Zambians asking themselves what kind of democracy they're living in? Was this a triumph of the rule of law, or was it something else entirely, a political maneuver dressed in judicial robes? Think about it. How does a party that governed Zambia for a decade suddenly find itself on the defensive, not on the campaign trail, but in a court of law? What does it mean when the judiciary becomes the battlefield where electoral futures are decided? And most crucially, what does this Kabwe ruling signal for the integrity of the 2026 elections? Is this the beginning of a new chapter in Zambian democracy, where accountability finally catches up with power? Or is it the opening salvo in a war of political attrition, where rivals are neutralized not through the ballot box, but through the courtroom? The questions are many. The answers? Well, they're unfolding as we speak. Factual foundation. The revelation came to light on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday afternoon in Kabwe, Zambia's historic mining town, now thrust once again into the national spotlight, but this time, not for copper, but for controversy. It was January 21, 2026, when Magistrate Mwansa Chabisa delivered a ruling that would dominate headlines across the nation. The case? A complex web of electoral complaints, allegations of procedural violations, and constitutional questions surrounding the Patriotic Front's activities in Central Province. The initial discovery traces back to late 2025, when civil society organizations and political watchdogs began raising red flags about irregularities in voter registration drives and party candidate nominations. Whispers turned to formal complaints. Complaints turned to investigations. And investigations, inevitably, landed in court. By December 2025, the Anti-Corruption Commission had forwarded several files to the Director of Public Prosecutions. Among them were allegations that senior PF officials had engaged in what prosecutors termed systematic undermining of electoral processes. Claims that included intimidation of electoral officers, manipulation of voter registers, and the deployment of state resources for partisan purposes during a time when the PF was still clinging to remnants of institutional influence. The Patriotic Front, through its Secretary-General Raphael Nakasinda, vehemently denied all allegations, calling them a politically motivated witch hunt designed to decapitate the opposition before 2026 even arrives. But the prosecution pressed forward. Witnesses were called. Documents were submitted. And on that fateful January day, the court rendered its decision. The Kabwe Magistrates Court found sufficient grounds to proceed with charges against 3 senior PF officials, including a former cabinet minister and 2 regional coordinators. The court also issued an unprecedented injunction temporarily barring the Patriotic Front from conducting certain campaign activities in Central Province pending the resolution of the case. The gavel came down. The shockwaves rippled outward. Direct evidence. In the court's written judgment, Magistrate Chabisa was unambiguous in her assessment. Let me read directly from the ruling. This court has examined the evidence presented, including sworn affidavits from 13 electoral officers, digital records of financial transactions, and video footage obtained from multiple polling centers during the registration period. The pattern of conduct alleged by the prosecution is not only disturbing but, if proven beyond reasonable doubt, represents a fundamental assault on the democratic process. When Raphael Nakasinda addressed the media outside the courthouse, his frustration was palpable. Here's what he said, word for word. We are shocked, frankly. We are shocked and appalled by this ruling. The Patriotic Front has always stood for democracy, for the rule of law, and what we are seeing here today is not justice. What we're seeing is persecution. This is not about the law. This is about 2026. This is about, removing us from the playing field before the whistle even blows. We will appeal. We will fight this at every level, because the people of Zambia deserve a choice, not a coronation. Inside the courtroom earlier, one of the key witnesses, a former electoral officer who testified under conditions of anonymity, provided chilling testimony. The transcript reads, "Prosecutor, can you describe what happened on the evening of November 14th at the Kabwe Central Registration Center?" Witness, yes. So, around 6 p.m., 3 men arrived. They didn't identify themselves initially, but I recognized one of them as a PF regional official. They had a list. A list of names. Prosecutor, what did they do with this list? Witness, they wanted us to add these names to the register. But these people, they hadn't shown up. They hadn't provided documentation. I told them we couldn't do it. That's when things got tense. Prosecutor, tense how? Witness, they said, and I'm quoting here, "You know who we work for. You know what happens to people who don't cooperate." I was scared. So I did what they asked. I'm not proud of it, but I did it. This testimony, corroborated by 2 other officers who came forward after the first witness broke silence, formed the backbone of the prosecution's case. Meanwhile, political analyst Dr. Chanda Mwenya of the University of Zambia offered this assessment in a radio interview immediately following the ruling. What we witnessed today in Kabwe is significant, not just legally, but symbolically. The courts are sending a message: no party, no matter how powerful it once was, is above the law. But here's the question, will this standard be applied equally? Because if we only see opposition parties in the dock, then this isn't justice. It's just politics by another name. Deeper analysis. So what does this Kabwe ruling actually mean for the 2026 elections? And more importantly, what does it mean for Zambian democracy? Let's start with the immediate implications. The injunction barring PF campaign activities in Central Province, even if temporary, is a massive blow. Central Province is a key battleground, with over 800,000 registered voters. It's historically been a swing region, sometimes leaning PF, sometimes leaning UPND. For the Patriotic Front to be handicapped there, even for a few months, could prove devastating to their electoral mathematics. But the ramifications go deeper than vote tallies. Legal experts have noted that this case sets a precedent. If electoral misconduct can lead to mid-campaign injunctions, then every political party in Zambia should be worried. Because the question becomes, who decides what constitutes misconduct? And who investigates it? Mutal Chilishi, a constitutional lawyer based in Lusaka, told our team, "This ruling opens Pandora's box. On one hand, yes, we need mechanisms to ensure electoral integrity. But on the other hand, these mechanisms can be weaponized. Imagine if every accusation, founded or unfounded, leads to court injunctions. We could have a situation where elections are fought and won in courtrooms, not at polling stations." The reaction from the ruling UPND has been notably restrained. President Hakainde Hichilema, speaking at an agricultural expo in Mons, said only, "I have confidence in our judiciary. They are independent, and they will do what the law requires. That's all I'll say on the matter." But behind the scenes, sources within the UPND suggest there's satisfaction, perhaps even relief, that the PF is being scrutinized. One party insider, speaking on condition of anonymity, told us, "For years, we were on the receiving end. Now the tables have turned, and yes, there's a sense of vindication. But we also know this is a double-edged sword. Today it's them, tomorrow it could be us." Civil society has been split. Some organizations have praised the court for upholding accountability. Others have expressed concern about the timing and the potential for judicial overreach. And then there's the international dimension. Western donor nations, who have long pressured Zambia on governance and transparency, have welcomed the ruling as a sign of institutional strength. But regional neighbors, some with their own checkered democratic records, have been more cautious, wary of setting precedents that could come back to haunt them. There's also the unresolved question of evidence. While the court found sufficient grounds to proceed, a full trial has not yet occurred. The PF maintains its innocence. So we're left with a legal limbo, serious allegations, but no convictions. Injunctions, but no final verdicts. And hovering over all of this is the specter of 2026 itself. Will this case be resolved before voters go to the polls? Or will Zambia head into its next general election with one of its major opposition parties still entangled in litigation, its leaders distracted, its resources drained? The Kabwe ruling may have answered some questions, but it has opened up far more. Well, viewers, that's where we stand today. A courtroom in Kabwe has delivered a ruling that reverberates far beyond Central Province, far beyond the Patriotic Front, and perhaps far beyond Zambia itself. This is a story that will continue to unfold, and you can be sure we'll be following every twist, every turn, every appeal, and every implication as we march toward 2026. What do you think? Is this justice finally catching up with those who bend the rules? Or is this a dangerous precedent that could undermine democratic competition? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss. Let's debate. Let's engage, because democracy isn't a spectator sport, it requires all of us to pay attention. Thank you so much for watching another edition of InspirAfrica Official. We'll be back tomorrow with more news, more analysis, and more stories from across our incredible continent. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay inspired. I'm Nakash. Take care.